It's the Friendly Fire Show, episode 243 for the end of July 2023. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Wright. Joining me, my friend and yours, Ben Salter. Hello, Ben. What's going on in... It's weird that it's the end of July, but it is. What's going on?
I don't know what's going on. All I can hear about is everyone's going to the movies to see these two movies. And the thing that I'm most shocked about is you can afford to see two movies. Like, we don't all have our fancy gold card like you, Steve. Have you seen them both, or all three, or whatever is out at the moment?
So you're referring to Barbie and Oppenheimer for those who are living under a rock.
Or listening to this in a year's time from now and forgot about this, or even next week.
In addition to people being cash poor, like, how are people flush with time to be able to see like two? Like, all movies are 3 hours now, so I don't know how you have 6 hours to see two movies at different times, let alone potentially back to back, like some insane people have done. To answer your question, though, I think we're going to see Barbie on Thursday, and I'm keen to see Oppenheimer, but it's weird. The more you kind of hear about people seeing both movies, like Barbie is like crazily everyone's favorite movie, and I'm very excited to actually go see it. The trailers look good, but like Oppenheimer's starting to kind of divide people.
Is it really?
Yeah,
from what I've heard. Are hard to watch sometimes. They're just so long. They're good normally, but you need to be in the zone to watch them. Barbie, I'm going to assume, without having seen either movie, is more of a rock up, watch it, just kind of check out for an hour and a half type of movie.
Yeah, and the subject matter of Oppenheimer is just a little heavy, to say the least.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have seen Mission Impossible, but everyone's forgotten about that. I'm just going to get them all on streaming now. It's too late for me.
Yeah, we watched the first Mission Impossible, and it's weird. It's weirdly dated. Like, it's bad. And also, I don't know. Like, I've got a weird thing with all these Scientologists. I'm not like super crazy about seeing things that they're in to support them, because I think it's anyway. But that could be a 7-episode podcast of a series we're not having ever on this show. So let's not get into it. There's no games to play, sort of. Well, maybe we'll save them for next week, because there's a bunch to talk about this week. The big news is that Xbox Live is gone. Really?
It's gone. Xbox Live Gold, at least, is gone. I guess all of it's gone then. Silver went some time ago. This is huge news. Like, Xbox Live Gold, I would say, is just as big of a brand as Xbox. Like, it was the whole thing that it became successful. It was what the original Xbox did to be a thing. Yeah. And then the 360 took it next level and somehow talked us into paying for it. And it felt like a good deal at the time. But what's actually happened?
Well, and it's brought on things like Xbox Live Arcade, which that should still be a thing that exists, because things like Explosion
kind of is.
Yeah, but not nearly to the same thing. An ID at Xbox does not have the same ring to it as Xbox Live Arcade. But I digress. So basically, Xbox Live Gold is becoming Xbox Game Pass Core, because Xbox Game Pass wasn't confusing enough. Now we have to have another thing called Xbox Game Pass. The easiest way to think about it is Live Gold basically is there still in all but name. Xbox Game Pass Core gives you online multiplayer. It doesn't give you any more games with gold, so that 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the month, games per month kind of freebie thing is gone. Instead, you get a catalog of 25 largely first-party Microsoft games. Not like the likes of Halo Guardians, but like Halo 4 and 5. And not Forza Horizon 5, but Forza Horizon 4, Dishonored 2, I think the Elder Scrolls Online is in there. So, like, not bad stuff, but, like, you know, if you're a subscriber of Xbox something Live or Gold or Core or Game Pass, you've probably already played most of those games. You don't get the rest of the Xbox Game Pass library. That's where you need to go and buy Xbox Game Pass. End of
console
name.
PC on Ultimate.
Yeah. Yes. So Xbox Game Pass is also known as Console Game Pass, and that gives you the library of 100 games, but it doesn't give you online multiplayer. So if you want that, you either buy Core and Console Game Pass, and if you do that, you're stupid, because then you should just buy Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which gives you everything, including xCloud, access to PC Game Pass, and everything that we've talked about in the last minute.
Yeah, that's it.
How was that for a summary? Did I do well? Did I pass?
You did. So, what do we like about this change? I would say the fact that they've kept the annual subscription for Xbox Game Pass Core as they did for Live Gold. So, you can still just pay $80 a year Australian as opposed to like whatever it is, 13, $12 a month, which is a big chunk, big saving, really. So, essentially, you don't have to. It kind of looked like originally what it was going to be is going to be a big price increase. If you recall, 2 years ago, they did the sneaky little, we're going to double the price of Xbox Live Gold, completely oblivious to the fact that that was the wrong thing to do. They seem to not even realize until there was a backlash. Everyone said no. It kind of looked like they were doing that here by just saying, well, now it's monthly only. You can't get the saving. But then because it got leaked, that's what people assumed. And then they announced it properly. There's still the annual subscription. That's good, only for this tier. I think it makes it a little bit cleaner for people who don't know what they're doing, in that there's just one subscription now for Xbox. I think that's a plus. That's good.
Yeah.
The 25 games are better than the 3 games a month, which are awful from Xbox Live games with Gold. They haven't been good for 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think that's better. If you're just coming in now at this point, you don't have to remember to have claimed them, which a lot of people forgot. They can, for their numbers, they can just say we've got 80 million subscribers to Game Pass now, which is probably why they did this.
Yeah.
So they can say that instead of 20 million because PlayStation Plus has 100 million plus. And that's kind of it. Like, that's the only upsides I can see.
Yeah, it's slightly less confusing, I guess, with that you don't have games with gold and Xbox Live and Xbox Live Gold as part of like the vernacular. It's just Game Pass now, but like the core console PC Ultimate is still confusing to people.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
Yes, all the things that you said are absolutely true, but I think what this is really doing is pushing people towards getting Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, because
Yeah.
like you get a decent amount of games in online multiplayer, but you don't get all the new first party Microsoft stuff that comes out. Like a Starfield is a really good example, or to a horribly lesser example, a Redfall. And the price difference is it's not worth it's not worth kind of mucking around. I don't think, like, you just get Ultimate and set it and forget it and be done for what's on offer and what the price difference is. Like, it's just too much of a pain in the butt to jump between tiers, I think, unless you are really wanting to save some money per month depending on what's coming out, or if you haven't played the 25 games that are in that initial catalog. They are going to change up the catalog. I think they said 3 to 4 times a year in the end was the last thing I heard about it, but I can't imagine there's going to be too much that isn't like a Microsoft first party, or like a, Assassin's Creed game like 2 releases ago kind of thing. Like, nothing of an intense value, but like if you're new to the console, maybe worth your while kind of thing.
So then what we don't like about it essentially is everything
Everything
else.
else.
And I think what we learned from this is a lot of people would just subscribe to Gold still. Like, they hadn't jumped to Game Pass because the numbers have absolutely gone massive for Game Pass now since this has been announced, all the hypothetical numbers. So you're right. That's why they've done this, try to get people onto Ultimate eventually. I think it's extremely confusing to have the low tier have online play, which is kind of the benchmark here. That's the main reason to subscribe to any of these services. All the PlayStation Plus tiers have online play. Then the next one up doesn't, and it costs $1 or $2 more a month. It has more games in it, but it has no online play. That's just too confusing. I think huge missed opportunity not to rebalance that. And yeah, it's only slightly more expensive, so they'd probably say, well, how would we make that work? And I think the answer is make the core Game Pass cheaper than Xbox Live Gold was per month. So even if they got rid of the annual price, they could have just had, well, now we're just going to charge $6 a month for this. It should have been that plus console Game Pass equaled the price of Game Pass Ultimate. Therefore, you should just get Ultimate because you get more stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually really expensive to get core plus console. Is way more than it is for Ultimate. So I just feel like it's a big missed opportunity. It's too confusing.
Well, and we were talking about movies, like, you go to the movies and you get the whatever the combo is, and you're like, oh, do you want to add on a chalk top or add on a bottle of water? They should absolutely do that. Like, the most money you should spend on a subscription should be like the ultimate price. And if you live in a horrible, part that has dodgy internet and you're never going to be able to use xCloud, or you're not interested in xCloud, you like deselect that and it knocks a little bit off the price. And if you don't have a PC that can play PC Game Pass stuff. Well, you don't. That's not useful for you in Ultimate, so you untick that. No, you don't want to play online multiplayer games. I doubt that because that's what everything is right now. But you could untick that. So like cater it to yours. Just call it Game Pass, but like add on the things that. Do you want cloud gaming? That's Xbox Game Pass with cloud gaming. Do you want PC games? That's Xbox Game Pass with PC and cloud gaming. You know what I mean? Like that would make more sense to me and maybe to
Yeah.
people. I don't think that's the easiest. Like, oh, everything's fixed now. Our work is done here. But it seems to make more sense. The core online multiplayer thing is the thing that really gets me. And like I've had to explain it to people when it was still like Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass, and like trying to get people's heads around that aren't used to all of this kind of stuff at once. It's not easy or friendly, consumer
Yeah, I
friendly.
think heaps of people are going to subscribe to just Game Pass console now because they're going to see the little chart and they're going to see, oh, that one includes the games, and just assume it includes online play because all PlayStation Plus does. It's like as much as PlayStation Plus has kind of screwed things up in non-America, where, or at least the regions where you don't have streaming, so that we get the deluxe and the whatever versions.
Yep.
It's much cleaner than Game Pass is now. At least they all have online play, which is the main thing. They all have cloud save, which is kind of the second function, and then games is kind of the next bit. Whereas Game Pass has gone games first, which is like the opposite of what Xbox Live Gold was. It was all about where you were investing in a quality online infrastructure, and now that's kind of taken a back seat. So yeah, it's not quite Twitter turning its name to X, which they've done this week, but it's a little bit. Xbox Live Gold had a reputation. It had a good brand. It had a good name. Even when PlayStation went paid, I still feel like Xbox Live Gold had the reputation of if you're really serious about online gaming on console, you get a better service here. And PlayStation Plus kind of became a thing offering games because it needed to bridge that gap, which Microsoft then tried to copy, and then they went a different direction with Game Pass. But it's just it feels like they're trying to fix the problem which wasn't quite there. And
Yeah.
then in trying to fix it, they've simplified some things, but they've made other things more complicated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm still gonna call it Xbox Live if I'm talking about Xbox
Yeah.
Internet stuff. I was listening to Nextlander and they kind of think that, oh, they're gonna reappropriate that, and I hope they kind of do. Like Xbox live streams should be called Xbox Lives, which would kind of be cool. I like that
Better.
idea. Since I heard that idea, I'm like, that's pretty clever. Um, yeah, I think we're past the point of needing to pay for, and especially you don't have to do it on PC. Like, why are we
Yeah.
paying on console on in either for Nintendo, for any of these console platforms? Why are we paying for online access? And if we are, like, surely that should feed back into the games that we play, and then every game should have like dedicated server connections and not any peer-to-peer stuff that like us schlubs in Australia can totally tell when we're playing like people off in America because we're getting our butts kicked because lag and all these other gamer terms that I'm gonna not throw out your face. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why are we paying for it if it's kind of like substandard depending on where you are and what you're playing?
And that felt like that should be the move. It should not replace Live Gold with a different version of Game Pass. It was just remove Live Gold. So make online. Imagine if you were the player now. So they were the first one to introduce paid online when it probably was needed because the infrastructure wasn't there. They've rolled it all out. Microsoft own basically everything you could possibly need to run online games. Uh, they had the opportunity to try to win back some, especially as the third place console, to try to win back some market share, and then convince people to sign up to Game Pass instead. So you can play all these games online for free, or as part of Game Pass at least. And then if they do end up acquiring Activision, they would have got all these great, like a massive back catalog of great online games. And they could say, now you can play all these without a subscription. You just need Game Pass and you can play them all. Seemed very obvious, especially with like all these old CODs have now suddenly been revived on Xbox 360, which I'm sure isn't a coincidence. It could be, but I'm sure it isn't.
It's not a
So
coincidence,
yeah,
just like Overwatch 2 and other BattleNet games going on Steam now isn't a coincidence. But anyway, sorry.
that seems to be missed. What do you make of the 25 games they've given us?
I think I said it before. Like, not bad games. Like, you got the Halos, the Forzas, but like they're not the new Halos and the new Forzas. And like, for all the, yeah, Microsoft's amazing for Game Pass normal or ultimate, whatever you want to call it now, like doing day one. Like, I constantly bag on Sony for being like, oh, you can have the old God of War, but the new God of War, now you got to pony up for. And that it's reeking of that same kind of smell.
Yeah, but
Like,
worse.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, I think it looks like Xbox is trying not to give away too many first-party games, almost like they don't want to use all of them up in the core tier because they know there's a bunch of people who just subscribe for those games. Because a lot of the third-party offerings aren't as strong. There's definitely been a downgrade in Game Pass quality from the third parties, and they're not as strong as they used to be. And so maybe they're trying to protect some of what they have, but because they haven't released any games for like 18 months, at least not any AAA games, they don't really have much new stuff. So they have to go all the way back to Forza Horizon 4 because 5 is like basically their newest release.
Yeah.
Same with Halo Infinite. And it's
Well,
kind of like, okay. Um, yeah, it just seems too old.
that's why all these things that we're talking about kind of make sense to have addressed. Like
Mm,
calling it Game Pass Core. Like I guess it's core because you have online multiplayer, but it's not core because it's like
probably Game
it's
Pass.
kind of core. It's like sort of the essence of Game Pass. But like if you called it Game Pass Lite instead, like here's a sampling of like some of the library that you can get. Game Pass console Game Pass could be called core or just Game Pass because it's like the more robust than light version, but it needs
Mm,
online multiplayer and a expanded library. And then yeah, PC Game Pass is kind of its own thing, but then like Ultimate sort of makes sense in that scheme as well because it's not just the whole library, but it's PC games and it's xCloud and like online multiplayer shouldn't factor in yes no like it's you need a one of those stupid tables like you had on the
and
old
it's so
like
confusing.
3DS days when like which device can play this game. Like you don't, if you're getting to that stage you're doing something wrong.
They are. They're actually worse than that stage. Yeah, there's that. I don't know. I feel like they could have just tweaked it in some way. They could have called it, they could have done an Xbox Game Pass free where it's you don't pay anything for online multiplayer. You get maybe say 5 games a month and they rotate what they are, but you can play them for free and see what it's like to play Game Pass. And then you that's just your taster to jump in.
Yep.
Or they could have just had it as core, charge what they did, but have day one Xbox games and all first party games there. I think a lot of people would jump to that. They would say, okay, I'll sign up for the basically the same monthly price as Xbox Live console, or what's it called, Game Pass console. But I get online play instead, and I only get say 40 odd games, but they're all first party games, and the new ones come in.
Yeah.
Or they could have just made it cheaper or gotten rid of it. Just they've gone too greedy, dare
Well,
I say, for the third place console.
and it's like if you get a Series S, you can't buy discs. You like all these consoles for the most part are basically always online now anyway, like
Yeah,
regardless of what we want to tell ourselves. But if you buy an S, you have to have the ability to download games, so you need the internet. And you decide, oh, I've got this fancy new machine. I'm gonna get Xbox Game Pass. And I'm gonna play all these games, and you get console Game Pass, and you can access the games, but like you're not. It's just stupid. Just put online multiplayer in every tier. Like that fixes
that's an
most of
easy
the
solution.
problems, and that's like I'd
Yeah.
be so much happier with all this.
Well, so that's the thing. Do we think they'll address any of this at all, or are they just going to keep going on, pretend it never happened, and just say this is what we're doing now? Or are they actually going to? Very occasionally, Microsoft has responded to fans, and they have said we missed the mark on that one, as they did when they tried to double the price of gold. Do you think they'll come out and say, you know what, we're going to just throw in online multiplayer with Xbox console, or are we going to throw in? Are we going to make Xbox Game Pass core cheaper, or are we going to do something different?
They should make. Well, what are they going to do and what do I want them to do? I don't know. Two different things. They should make core a little bit cheaper, and they should PC Game Pass like gaming's for everyone. Everyone should be able to play on what they want. Blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. Then the need to pay to pretend that you're paying
Yeah,
for
that's the
online
thing.
multiplayer, just take it out. Take it out like PC Game Pass. You've got core, you've got normal, you've got ultimate. Depending on what you want, you don't have to worry about if you can play Destiny. Oh, that's a free one, I guess. So like I should be able to play that regardless, or Fortnite, or oh, this is a COD, so I need to like this. Too confusing. Just make it simple. Like it's gaming's for everyone. Cool. You don't need a PhD and you don't have to listen to this podcast and like 5 others and read 17 articles a day to get a handle on what's happening. It's stupid.
So I think overall we think it's probably a break even at best, probably a bit of a step backwards for Xbox, really, considering all of that. Certainly not the big opportunity they could have made it, which is probably the tale of Xbox this generation. Like so many things are partly on the way to like that's a really good idea and you're stepping back in the right direction after the Xbox One, or at least the early days of the Xbox One. and then they just don't quite do it right.
Well,
So
and
that's
on that
probably
note, sorry, can we talk about the thing that annoyed me the absolute most? Like, I was sitting on the news of Game Pass Core for like 2 days. We were embargoed. I had all the information. We were ready to go.
Ooh.
And like, you're seeing, that that's coming. And then you're seeing things like, oh, that Friends and Family Game Pass trial that they have in New Zealand. Well, that's getting pulled out. So, and you haven't heard anything about that. That was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. You can partner up with, I think, 5 people and pay more, obviously, but every single person in that 5-person scheme, and we've talked about this before, gets access to Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, that would have been better.
is that dead in the water now? Like, that was a really good thing that I was looking forward to trying to, like, team up, because I can't do it with my family because they're in a different country, but like, you could do it with your own family, or I'm assuming that we would have probably figured out to group up with Tano and I think we've talked about this. Like, you
The Friendly Fire family,
find
yeah.
4 friends, or like, like, I'd probably put Matt and maybe Claire in, depending on what you want to do. If there's ever games with multiple Xboxes, like, you don't have to. The way that the licensing works, like, if Matt wants to play something on Game Pass, he can't because it's tied to me anyway. Like, it would have saved us a whole bunch of money. That's out the window, and now it's like, oh well, we've changed this to core. Like, oh, that's a weird 1-2 punch. Like, that's
Yep.
again, you're going backwards, not forwards. Sorry to cut you off.
That's fine. I think we're a little disappointed in core, but we are fans of Xbox Live Gold. So in memory of Xbox Live Gold, the good times, the grand times, back when it was a real status symbol to have Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah.
Well, when do you think its peak years were? I'm kind of thinking like early days, like real early Xbox One when it first launched. It was a big deal. I didn't have an Xbox at that time, but like, didn't Bill Gates announce it? And it
Yeah.
was like,
I,
was that wasn't the Rock time, right? The Rock in this Gibby,
I
different time.
don't think so. But it was. Oh, I remember, like, it's because I'm so old. I grew up like in, like, playing Doom with like my friends in like an internet cafe with like a locally networked set of PCs, and like, nothing could get better than this. This is the life, boys.
Wow.
And like, and then you could just do it from your house, and they could be at their house. It was so good. Like, it was the simplicity of it was crazy, and the like, it's silly at the time or now, but thinking about it, because it's so obvious. But like, the Xbox came with a broadband connection, and people are like, what's that for? Like, what's happening? Like, it's for this. It's to go and play Halo with people that you don't have to be in the same room with. And like I've said, like, Xbox Live is, yeah, it's mostly multiplayer, but it extends into so many different things. Like, you can, if you close your eyes, I can see the logo, like the Xbox Live, Live's in orange, the
logo, yeah.
And like Xbox Live Arcade, there was some really good stuff coming out of like, Xbox Live is a brand that I actually really, really, really like, and Game Pass, like, it makes sense in terms of like what it stands for and what it should mean to people, but like, it doesn't hit the
Not
same
as
way.
strong.
Exactly.
No.
When was your first exposure to Live?
Certainly well, I remember it on the Xbox. I didn't have one, but it was definitely a big deal, probably months late because it was still magazine days back then. But like, so 2002 or so when it launched, like, that would have been awful internet days in Australia. I don't think many people here actually really jumped on it because of that. It wasn't really, like, online play was not a thing until early next generation. So 360 era is when I got into the Xbox ecosystem, when I first got Xbox Live. Back then, being a teenager, like, I'm not spending money per month on this subscription. So I only got it when Halo 3 came out. And it was like, I need to now play this online. Absolutely no faith that my, like, broadband, dial-up, whatever internet would work. But I don't remember any issues. There must have been, but I don't remember them, which is how we played at the time. You just dealt with it. And yeah, like, being able to play that online, playing through like a Halo 3 campaign with someone else who wasn't there with me and finishing it in like one night, it was just like mind-blowing. This is a thing you can do. And so, like, that's like peak Xbox Live for me.
Well, it made the 360. Like, I think that's why the 360 did so much better than like, there's the what is it, the emotion engine or whatever that was called on PS3 that made it hard to develop for. Like, there are other reasons, but like, Xbox Live was so integrated into 360, and it made it so easy to go and join people and play things and be in different places and get all those experiences. And then like arcade and games with, I don't know when Games with Gold came out, but like, there were all these cool little benefits with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why the 360 versus the PS3, it was so decidedly Xbox. And that was kind of like, and that's always really been the Xbox's like biggest thing. And then like, oh, Howie Trumpet, we'll go TV, TV, TV for one. Like you know, that's we know how history's gone. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. That's when it peaked. It wasn't on the original. It was definitely on the 360 for those reasons.
Certainly early days, I think it was a must have. Like they somehow convinced us at a time when online console multiplayer at least wasn't that big of a deal. They convinced us to not only get into it, but to pay for that. And so, and that's all we were paying for. It was just to be able to play online. Like Xbox Live Silver was kind of pointless. It let you access the store basically, and that was still sold as like, look what you can do. You're still a part of us. You're part of Xbox Live, but you're just Silver. But even that was a big deal. Like being able to download games early that generation wasn't really a thing. It
Yeah,
wasn't until like at the moment now you think like, oh yeah, you can download 360 games. Back half of the generation, yes. First half, no. That first model console came with like a 20 gig hard drive if you got the fancy version. There was like
yeah.
the cheapo one that didn't even have that.
And then
So
you
that's where
could
we're starting.
pop the top off and put the
Yeah, pop the
expandable
top.
storage on.
We ended up with like a 250 gig slim. Like things changed so much over that generation. I would say Xbox Live Gold went downhill though when everything else was kind of going up for that console because it probably peaked like 2007 ish,
Yeah,
and shortly afterwards that's when PlayStation Plus launched, and it was in mid generation they brought in you now need to pay to play online, which was kind of crazy to think about it, and yet they somehow wrestled the momentum back. They being Sony, because they were giving away games, and that's when Games with Gold came in. And early days it was not too bad, but it never felt the same from that point onwards. It changed what Xbox Live was, because it had to compete, and it wasn't that much of a status symbol anymore.
yeah. One of my favorite for all this talk of, oh, you could play games and not be in the same house. One of my and sadly I forget the name of the game, but you should hopefully be able to fill my memory gaps in. One of
Maybe.
my favoriteest things that I did, I guess technically with Xbox Live, is you were at my apartment in South Yarra. We turned on a game in the Xbox in the living room, and we turned on the same game in the Xbox at the back of the house, and we logged you into one and we logged me into the other, and we played the same game on two different Xboxes, but I was looking at your screen trying to drive my character looking at it was
That's
like
right.
screen cheat. Like I was using your split screen trying to orientate myself, and if you looked away, if you were being mean and like looked away and turned your right stick off so I couldn't see my character, I was kind of screwed. It was kind of fun. I don't know why. We were trying to do like a split screen co-op with Xbox Live.
Split screen. I can't remember what game that was either.
That's really
No
bad.
idea.
And the bad thing is that we put it on YouTube, but that's when I got mad at Google one time and I deleted like my Google account, but forgot like all of the things were connected to it. So I deleted like Stevivor's YouTube channel version 1.
Lost to history forever.
Anyway, so sometimes you don't need to be at a different house to enjoy Xbox Live. Sometimes you just do weird things because you have a privileged state with two Xboxes in one house.
Could be done. Yeah, I think that's about it. Well, here's to Xbox Live Gold. You'll never be back. Well, it's still around for like another month or two. If you do have the prepaid cards for some reason, they now convert at a different rate as well. That's a fact. I don't know what the rate is. Not a fact-based show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess they couldn't just leave them out there to just expire. They had to redeem them somehow. Makes things more complicated though.
And
That's the last thing that
the price of Game Pass has gone up now already. I can't remember. I bought a whole bunch like a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's the thing. So, like, they've added a year subscription for Xbox Game Pass Core, but they haven't added a year subscription for Ultimate or Console. It's still monthly, technically, unless you somehow buy the 3-month cards from places, but they're not common. You can't just buy them from Xbox like you can PlayStation Plus. So, that's really annoying. Yet another thing which they missed. Why didn't they add a cheaper annual subscription? They clearly don't want to. They want you to get in with Core. They want you then to upgrade to Ultimate and just stay there paying monthly.
Well, the joke's on them. I've got Game Pass for myself and my nephew till like 2026 at this point. So,
wow. Joke's on them. Joke's on us. We're going to keep paying anyway. It doesn't really matter what they do. We're holding a subscription. You need it to play online. Until they change that. If they did, I probably would take a bit of a break from Game Pass. So maybe I'll get Core one day when my 3 years run out. Once I've played everything on there.
And you'll have forgotten what, Halo 5 Guardians was, so you just dip your toes back in. Not as good as Halo 3.
It's possible.
Anyway,
No.
How do we find you on the internet? Are you still on X?
I am, but you know what? You don't really anymore. I haven't really jumped onto the new things. I guess I'll be on Stevivor at some point if a game ever releases that we need someone to write about. It's been a while. I think we're going to talk about some next week. that other people played that we played slightly, which is a classic friendly fire show conversation. Where do we find you?
I'm not technically on X. I got everything off X. I'm not calling it X. This is stupid. We're not on Twitter. I've left the accounts active because like the way it works, if you're reporting a story and someone's only like written a statement on Twitter, you need Twitter now to see Twitter. So like I'm not posting on Twitter and I'm not really reading Twitter, but I'll use Twitter if I need to. We're on Threads now, Stevivor and me,
Wow.
SRedAU, and other internet things. Just if you want to find me, you can. Don't be like that guy on Instagram and in a different language tell me that you know where I live and stuff. That's a bit weird because just don't. And on that lovely note, the police are coming to get the person who's stalking me outside my house. So the world is good. We'll see you next week.